Welcome back. Today I'll be going over Lisa Marie Presley's book, From Here to the Great Unknown. This is going to be chapter 2, part 1. It's a long chapter. If you missed chapter 1, just go back to my channel. I did create a playlist so you don't have to scroll through all the videos. Let's get started. Lisa Marie says she was always worried about her dad dying. There were times when she would see Elvis passed out or he seemed out of it. She had even written a poem with the line, "I hope my daddy doesn't die." She says Elvis had a TV and a chair set up in her bedroom and he would frequently hang out there with her. One day she was in her room with a friend and Elvis walked in. Lisa could tell that he was moving too far to the right and he was beginning to fall. So she told her friend, "Go get him." She and her friend were able to get underneath Elvis and help hold him up until he grabbed onto something and regained his composure. Then he simply walked out of her room. She said, quote, "That happened a few times. Happy to see me, then the swaying." She says it happened more often towards the end of Elvis's life. One day she was sitting in her room watching TV with Elvis and she said to him, "Daddy, please don't go anywhere. Please don't die." Elvis looked at her and said, "I'm not going anywhere," and smiled. But Lisa still had this feeling that something tragic was going to happen to her dad. One day she was walking to her room and she saw Elvis in his bedroom lying flat on his back, and she saw how bloated his stomach looked. And this really worried her. A few days later, she was in her room with her friends. They were watching the movie Brian's Song, and about halfway through, she just got really worried about her dad for some reason. So she went to his room to check on him and she found him lying face down in his bathroom. Apparently he had been holding onto the towel rack, but it broke and he fell. She ran downstairs to tell Aunt Delta. Aunt Delta called for help and people were able to get Elvis up and they gave him coffee and got him walking around. She says her dad was hanging onto the people who were helping him walk. His head was hanging down. And she said once Elvis saw her, they locked eyes and his face lit up. He started to walk over to where she was, but she could tell that he was going to vomit. So she said, "No, he's going to throw up." They took Elvis to the bathroom where he indeed did vomit. Lisa says she didn't talk to anyone about these incidents. She just kept everything in. She says she and her dad had fun, though. One day he wanted her to get on a snowmobile with him, and she was scared. She called him a wild man, but she got on anyway because Elvis was her dad. They went down the steepest part of the driveway on the snowmobile, and he lost control and they started sliding and ended up jumping the curb. And somehow they both managed to stay on the snowmobile. They landed on the grass and they both left. Another time at Graceland, Elvis and some of the other guys went down the hill on sleds on their bellies. And she said the wives and the kids were all standing around watching. Lisa was at the top of the hill, and she was really worried because there were no brakes on the sleds. She said she remembers thinking, "What are you doing, Daddy?" She watched Elvis go down the hill on his stomach on the sled, and again, like with the snowmobile, he jumped the curb at the bottom. He rolled 3 times and just lay there completely still. Everyone started running towards him. They were so scared that something really bad had happened. And she said, quote, "As they approached, all freaking out, he flipped over on his back and let out a huge guttural belly laugh like you wouldn't believe. He thought it was just the funniest thing." Lisa says she ran around Graceland with her cousins and friends. At this time, Vernon was seeing a woman by the name of Sandy Miller, who lived with Vernon at Graceland. Sandy had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. The daughter's name was Laura, and she was Lisa's age, and Laura was one of Lisa's best friends. Lisa was also best friends with Patsy's daughter, Deanna Gamble, and she said she was very protective of Deanna. Lisa says that she and Laura would get into these terrible fights. Lisa would torment Laura and try to get her to eat her makeup. One day while Lisa and Laura were in Lisa's bedroom, they were fighting because Laura had a Barbie case that you couldn't find anywhere. So Lisa told her, "Give me that goddamn Barbie case." And Laura said no. Lisa said there was a statue in her room that she grabbed and picked it up over her head as if to strike Laura. And Laura started screaming, "No!" you. Then Laura's eyes darted to Lisa's right, and when Lisa looked over, she saw Elvis standing there. And she quickly put the statue down and acted innocent. Elvis asked Lisa, "What are you doing?" Lisa said, "Nothing, just playing." Elvis told her, "Don't kill your best friend." She called it words of wisdom. Lisa said Vernon's girlfriend Sandy had a son named Rory, Laura's brother, and when Lisa was around 8 or 9 years old, she developed a huge crush on him. She said she was just head over heels in love with Rory for years, and she thought the feeling was mutual because Rory had kissed her once or twice when they were playing hide and seek in the dark in the pool room. Lisa said she wanted to play hide and seek all the time with him to see if he would kiss her again. She says Rory would go on to have these really beautiful girlfriends, and it made her really jealous and just broke her heart. When Lisa was 6 or 7 years old, she says she'd been at Graceland for the summer, but her dad ended up going on tour. So Priscilla's mom came out and picked her up, and they flew to New Jersey to visit with Priscilla's parents and her side of the family. Lisa says she wasn't really close to her maternal grandmother, Anne, that's her name. She spent summers with her dad at Graceland where there really had been no rules. So when she went to spend time away from him, she needed to basically relearn rules and what she calls debraticize. Lisa says, quote, "My mom's parents were very much of the mindset that I was nothing special, that I wouldn't be treated as anything special, that I was just like the rest of their family." Lisa said that this was so confusing to her, this polar opposites of households, and the confusion would cause her to, quote, "scream my head off." She said she remembers screaming really loudly for a good hour and that her uncles, Priscilla's younger brothers, were laughing at her. Lisa says, quote, "My mom had my grandmother's chilly disposition, which she got from her mother, my great-grandmother." Lisa recalls she had owned a little compact that she really loved, and one day it went missing, and everyone was helping her look for it. And when she was in the car with her grandma, she looked down at her grandma's purse, and there was the compact. She asked her grandma, "What's that?" And her grandmother said, "You didn't see anything, it's nothing," and she moved her purse away. Lisa thought, "Oh my God, the bitch stole it from me." Lisa says that she knows she acted like a princess sometimes, but the strange thing is she is filled with self-doubt. And it was all very confusing to her. She says looking back, there was really only one thing that she was sure of, that I was loved by my dad. Lisa says she spent her 9th birthday party on the Lisa Marie, Elvis's private plane. Elvis was in his bedroom at the back of the plane, but came out to sing happy birthday with everyone out front. She says Charlie Hodge, who she describes as Elvis's, quote, sidekick on stage, he didn't have a present for her, so he emptied his pockets and told her to take whatever she wanted, so she grabbed the money. Lisa said at this point in time, Elvis was dating Ginger Alden. Lisa says Elvis had a bunch of different girlfriends and that she liked most of them. She remembers Sheila Kahn, and she says she loved Linda Thompson. She could tell that Linda really cared about Lisa and Elvis. When Elvis and Linda had broken up, Elvis didn't tell Lisa, so she says one day she ran into his room to give Linda a hug, but it turned out to be Ginger. She said that she didn't mind Ginger, but, quote, I didn't like her. Nobody did. She says Ginger was nice to her for obvious reasons, but that she didn't like how Ginger would upset Elvis. Lisa said that she used to listen in on phone calls between Elvis and Ginger, and that those conversations would drive her absolutely crazy. Lisa said, quote, "She wasn't there for him. I could tell that she didn't love him at all." Lisa says one time Ginger and Elvis got into a fight, and she remembers the sound of his car, his favorite car, the Stutz, as it peeled away out of the driveway. She knew that he and Ginger had been fighting when he took off at a high speed out of the gate like that, and it worried her. Lisa says she remembers Elvis asking her, "Have you seen Ginger? Is she around? Where is she?" And Lisa told him, "I don't know where she is." Lisa says Ginger was driving Elvis crazy and that Ginger was playing Elvis, quote, hard. Ginger would be there 1 minute and then the next minute she was gone. Lisa says one day Ginger wanted Lisa to accompany her to her family's home. Lisa didn't tell Elvis she was going, but she told other people. She added Ginger wanted to take her, so she thought it was fine. But when Lisa got back home, Elvis was mad, and she said that wrecked her. She said her dad's relationship with Ginger was, quote, tumultuous. Now Riley's talking. Riley says that Lisa Marie learned from her dad's experiences to put her children before her partners. Anytime Lisa got a new partner, she would introduce him to Riley and Benjamin. Lisa wanted to see their interaction, and later on, she'd ask the kids what they thought of the guy, and if there was anything negative, the guy would be gone. Now, Lisa Marie's talking. Lisa turned 9 in 1977. She says later that year, as the summer was coming to an end, she was still at Graceland as Elvis was getting ready to go back on tour. She said there were tour suitcases lined up by the front door to be loaded the next day. Lisa says she was depressed about having to leave Memphis. That night, she and her friends were playing in the racquetball center out back. They stayed out there late. It was well after midnight. She was coming through the back door just as Elvis was going out, and he said to her, "Go to bed." And she said, "Okay." She said they hugged, and she gave him a kiss, and they both said, "I love you," and she went upstairs to bed. Lisa says it wasn't unusual to wake up to loud activity in the house. One night, the noise came from people trying to bring her dad's organ upstairs so he could play gospel music. But it didn't fit through the doorway, so they had to do construction in the middle of the night to get it into his room. But the night Lisa kissed and hugged Elvis goodnight after the racquetball center, she woke up in the early afternoon in a jolt, and she had a sense of panic. She thought, something's not right. There was a different energy in the house. Lisa says she got up and she found Joe and asked what was happening with her dad. And Joe said, "Your daddy's sick." She didn't know what that meant, so she started running into his bathroom. Lisa says Elvis's bathroom was huge and even had a closet with a bed in it in case someone wanted to take a nap, I guess. His bathroom had 2 entrances, one which she had access to from her room. She ran across the bathroom and she saw her dad on the floor. She tried to run to him, but someone had pulled her back. She said people were standing over him and trying to work on him, and she was screaming bloody murder, and then someone took her out of the bathroom. Lisa says that there were many times that she found him on the floor or not having full control of his body. She says, quote, "It was the barbiturates." Lisa says she was taken downstairs to the dining room and a stretcher went upstairs. The medics brought the stretcher back downstairs past her. She didn't see Elvis's face, but she saw his head and his body, and she saw he was wearing his pajamas and he was wearing socks. Lisa broke free from whoever was holding her back and started to run towards her dad, but someone pulled her back again. Everything happened so quickly. Medics removed Elvis from the home, and Lisa started screaming and saying that she wanted her dad, that she needed her dad, and she was kicking and punching whoever was holding her. She was trying to get away, but they wouldn't let her go. Then the front door was shut. Lisa acknowledges that it was probably a good thing that she didn't get to look at her dad's face. His face was distorted, and it would have traumatized her even more. After Elvis was taken to the hospital, Lisa repeatedly asked, "Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be okay?" And someone had told her, "We're just waiting for the hospital to call us to tell us." Lisa says she and Amber, Ginger's niece, went upstairs to Lisa's bedroom where they lit a cigarette. Lisa says, quote, "I remember Ginger had somehow had enough time to do her hair and her makeup. She was dressed to the nines." About an hour later, Lisa heard Vernon wailing. She said she'll never forget the sound of his wails. She couldn't understand what he was saying, so she went downstairs, and as she got closer, she could hear Vernon saying, oh, he's gone, he's gone." Lisa looked around and saw that everyone was in the room. Vernon, Dodger, Ginger, and Delta, everyone except Elvis. Lisa asked, "Who's gone?" And Vernon told her, "Your daddy's gone, he's gone, my son is gone." Lisa said she became very angry and she turned around and she started to run. Ginger had tried to grab her, but she got away. Lisa doesn't remember where she ran to, probably her bedroom. She locked the door and she doesn't remember what she did after that. She said anger was her first response and that the grief had come later. She was angry at the universe that this could happen. Lisa says she took her golf cart to one of the trailers in the back of Graceland and they were watching the news, and that is when it really hit her that her dad was gone. She said, "My life as I knew it was completely over." Lisa says losing someone she loved was her greatest childhood fear. Whenever she told Elvis that she was scared that he was going to die, he'd say, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere." but he did. Lisa says she remembers walking down the stairs in the home and seeing the tour suitcases and thinking that Elvis was just going to come downstairs and just go on tour. Then a thought hit her. Am I even going to be able to come back to Memphis? Lisa says one of the things that really upset her that afternoon was the people looting Elvis's belongings. She said everything was taken: jewelry, artifacts, personal items. This was before he was even pronounced dead. And she says that to this day, you can still find things at auction. Okay, that is absolutely vile. Like, I wonder who took the stuff. I remember in Priscilla's first book, she said when she walked into Elvis's bedroom after he passed, when she first got to Graceland, after he passed, she noticed the usual stuff on his shelves, like his books, were oddly gone. Anyway, Lisa says that when she was told her mother was coming for her, it felt like an invasion. She said that Graceland was the place for her and her dad, and she did not want Priscilla there. She felt Priscilla was going to ruin the magic that was Graceland, and she was upset that Priscilla was going to take her back to Los Angeles, and she also didn't like that Priscilla was going to be attending the funeral. Then she had another thought. Lisa realized that her grandfather, Vernon, was still alive, so she would have a reason to come back to Graceland. But would Priscilla allow her to? Lisa says when Priscilla showed up at Graceland, she was playing on her golf cart, and Priscilla was standing at the front steps of the house and was calling her name, trying to wave Lisa down. Lisa just waved back at her and kept going, so Priscilla yelled, "How can you be on a golf cart right now?" Lisa paid her no attention, though. She was still upset about Priscilla being there. Lisa says at the time she didn't understand why Priscilla was so upset with her, but now she realizes it's probably because it would be bad publicity to have her driving around and playing with her friends after her dad just passed away, when the entire world had stopped. Speaking of stopping, I think this is going to be a good point to stop. So my next video, I'll cover part 2 of chapter 2. I'll see you then.